Hey, welcome everybody. We have Q with us, and today we have Rosanna. Welcome, Rosanna.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. Today we're going to talk about leaders of agile teams. Rosanna, why don't you kick us off?
Right. One of the biggest, I would say, not complaints, but issues or challenges that new teams face when they are starting up is the role their leadership has on their team. Talk a lot about servant leadership and what that means. Um, but sometimes it's hard to really understand how that works and what those leaders really need to do. So I'd love some insight on what your thoughts were as what should those leaders really do as a servant leader for those teams.
What do you think, Q?
What I think first, don't use buzzwords. I'm telling you, nothing gets leadership, if you want to call them this way, nothing gets them less interested than another buzzword to learn. And I would like to always point out that when it comes to that, what's the economical benefit? What's the financial benefit in adopting that posture? That's what we have to explain to them. Because otherwise it's just another buzzword, and we have so many of them that don't mean anything. So what's the benefit? By adopting that posture, what's the benefit? How does that impact the bottom line? That's what you have to explain to them.
And then let's say they understand that and they're all on board, but they're not being patient with the results. And they start, here's another buzzword for you, agile falls, right? They start asking for detailed schedules and meetings every other day and almost forcing the teams to revert back out of their agile framework. What would be the recommendation there?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say without having my boots on the ground, right? Every situation is one situation. But one thing I always mention to people is, do they even understand what their role is in an agile organization? Because a lot of them do not, especially the levels like managers and directors. They are the ones who understand the least. Senior leadership usually gets it, the teams usually get it, but the people in between, they are very, I wouldn't say scared, but they're very weird about that. It's like, okay, so I'm not going to tell people what to do. We don't have schedules. It's stuff is like, I, I think there is a lot of unknowns for them. And then on top of that, there are all the buzzwords. Suddenly they're hearing about servant leadership and retrospectives and this and that and that. That gets people all confused because it's a shifting mindset. So I don't think that we do the proper work to convey to them what the role is. And that's why they start getting impatient, because you're changing things without explaining to them why the things have to be changed.
Yeah, it's a shift, right? And no buzzwords, but mindset. And I don't like mindset because once you start telling people you don't have the right mindset, it's like finger pointing, and people don't like that either. But it's different. Agile is different, right? So when you think of command and control or a traditional hierarchy, I always like to point folks also to the original Agile manifesto and better ways of working and helping for better ways of working. As a leader, how can you help better ways of working?
So again, we have to explain to them how to coach, what's the role of coaching is, and in the end is and I like, again, I hate the buzzwords, but in Lean there is this thing called humble inquiry, right? It's like asking questions and supporting people on that. But I think you have to emphasize the economic, financial benefits of something and say, now, listen, we're going to do things in small time boxes, whatever you want to call it. And at the end of the time box, you have something that you can consume, that you can give to people to use. By doing this more frequently, we are delivering value, we're delivering things that people can use more often. And that way we can reframe, re-navigate change the course of what you are doing based on what we learned by people using it. So notice that I didn't use any buzzwords. I didn't say sprint. I didn't say any of that. You have to explain to them what's the benefit of doing things incrementally. And then you have to give them the tools, the training, the knowledge to actually act as coaches. Because it's really good. Oh, okay, you know, leadership's going to be coaches right now. They never done that before. What you expect is going to happen.
Yeah.
Point.
So that's where like you got to go for the small wins, right? And you got to be agile about agile, right? You start off with a few teams, but again, like we're saying, no buzzwords, right? You don't talk about sprints, you talk about delivery, you talk about customer satisfaction, right? And that's what I've seen is like, look, the customer's really happy, they're more involved, and they want to be involved, right? You go for those angles. There's a book by Bob Galen where he has a table, says instead of these agile buzzwords, use these regular English words. So really good stuff.
And honestly, you also have to emphasize, you mentioned is the sense of urgency. Why are we doing this? Okay, it's because in doing this, cheaper, easier, better, faster, right? We have the benefits of doing this. Is the urgency why we should do it, right? And conveying urgency, you don't need to use any buzzwords. And I hate when agile coaches come and say, well, we're going to have this and then we run a retrospective and psychological safety and all that stuff. Say, listen, here's the deal. It's very simple. You are going to try to create things in increments, and you release those increments so people can use it and they can tell you whether they like or not. In the meantime, what you have to do is you have to support your teams, you have to grow your people, you have to give them the tools, the training, the understanding, and the support to get those things done. And that's it. Forget the buzzwords, stop all the other stuff, because nobody want to hear about servant leader, nobody want to hear about psychological safety, you know, and people are going to look to me, I don't know anything about psychology, right? And the bottom line is you don't need to know. You need to know is just how to deal with people, which is very simple. You know, I don't want to win all the time. I don't want to be right all the time, but at least I want to be heard. I want people to consider my opinion. I didn't use the word psychological safety. I just want people to consider my opinion. And I want my leadership to actually support me in taking initiatives to deliver things cheaper, better, faster, or whatever.
Great points.
That's a great way to end this. Hey, folks, thanks a lot. Rosanna, thanks for joining us today. Q as well. Please like and subscribe. If you have a question or you have a comment, put it in the comment section below. We will check on it. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time, everybody.